This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
Studies show that at least 95% of people incarcerated in prisons will be released back into their communities at some point. Well, today's show focuses on efforts to make sure that transition is easier and successful. And joining me now is Steve Sanders. He is the founder of Restoring a Generation. Steve, welcome to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Restoring a Generation is a ministry of sorts. You work with people who have been incarcerated. Talk a little bit about your program and how it works.
Well, basically my program is for somebody been incarcerated, we say 10, 11, 12 years, federal prison, state prison. Mm-hmm. I try to get them, talk to them and tell them the ways, to go, basically, when they get out here, So I started this program, so when they got out, I was saying them, I would go ask them, to come to the church, to speak, with youth. I would like the youth to be there most of the time when we did that at church, we would have the youth. I would get 6 or 7 people to come at one time, and they would speak. Each one of them would have a panel, mm-hmm. and after they would speak, everybody would get to talk to them. But most of the guys that I had through there, I have seen them succeed, what they had got out. Basically, when I started this, I went through by my nephew. He's here tonight. And that was basically one reason I started. And my pastor also gave me wisdom to do it, And I led front just to go out there and do it, And I had seen result from it, what I have did, from some of the guys, mm-hmm. They got their own business now. They're going back down the same path they went down, And I reached out to churches too also. I asked churches, other churches to let the guys come speak, I did that with the county, sent out flyers, and I got some response for somebody. But I didn't stop. I kept on, so, sometimes when you start something like this, you seem like you ain't getting no response from it, but these guys who are doing it for them, that's where I see the response. What they're doing in their lives now, something mm-hmm. positive and not negative. Right. Most of these guys have been out here in the street, and I tell these guys that who have been out here in the street, they are my teacher, because they are good workers now. When they worked in the street, they know mm-hmm. how to work, so now they out here in the real world. So
absolutely.
Basically that's how my program started, it started through the church, like I said, and my church where I go to Kingdom Build Fellowship in Clayton, Pastor Larry Williams, and we work with youth, the young and the old. We have a basketball league. We reach out to all the guys out here in the streets that don't have other places to go, so we do that each year. We start in February and we run it through May. We have a basketball program. Mm-hmm. We run it with all kind of guys come there. All the guys ain't perfect, but we go down there and minister to the guys. Each Thursday, we do it 2 nights a week. Same thing came with Malachi. It's Malachi Basketball League for the youth too. So that's how I got that idea,
Right.
And I'm keep on doing it, I don't want to stop doing it. I wish more churches would come aboard with me, 'cause,
right.
Sometimes when you do something like this, church, some will and some won't, but as long as I got these guys, they are my churches right
mm-hmm.
now. So my pastor always tell me to go outside the wall, So that's
Absolutely.
what I try to do. I go to church, but I have to go outside the wall. That's where I get my fishes at, outside the wall.
Right. And when you talk about the program and restoring a generation, you're really helping to bridge that gap between men coming out of prison
That's right.
and getting back into society. So talk a little bit about how the program helps support them and provide them with the things that they need as they are making that transition.
Well, the guys who I have dealt with, I'll call them. I'll ask them how they're doing. And to be honest, most of them is doing good. Some struggle because they guys have been incarcerated. I had never been incarcerated that long a time. But, to get back out here in society and have to live with the everyday life, even with your peoples and everything else, it's a different story. But most of the guys I have worked with so far, they had transferred good back into society, you know. So I give them support. I have them call me and ask me, and I'll check on them, see how they're doing. I see them time to time, you know, and I give them support and I pray for them,
Right.
you know, and keep my door open for them, you know.
How can people find out more information about your program?
Well, they can get in touch with me, you know, my phone number, get that, and through my church. Come visit my church.
Okay.
You know, you'll find out, you know, about it, or you can go online.
Absolutely.
And it will tell you about it.
And your number is 919-618-8513. And they can also find out more information by going to Facebook, Restoring a Generation /Malachi, or kingdombuilders.clayton, and certainly find out more information about your program.
Right.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll talk more in just a minute.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with more on the transition from prison to society after these messages. Today's show focuses on efforts to help make the transition from prison to society a bit easier. And with us again is Steve Sanders, founder of Restoring a Generation. Also joining us is Michael Pearsall. He is a participant in Restoring a Generation. Thank you both again for being with us.
Yes.
Now, Michael, tell us a little bit about your personal story. What led you to prison and what that experience was like for you?
Okay, my criminal behavior started when shortly after I finished high school. I couldn't make up my mind exactly what I wanted to do. I tried the military. Well, I tried college first, and then I tried the military. And neither one of those were what I wanted to do, so it just didn't fit well with me. So I ended up going into my criminal lifestyle of selling drugs. And when I started selling drugs, it was just, it just felt like it was right for me at the time. And I did it good. I did it well. So I did that for approximately probably about 3 or 4 years, and then I ended up going to prison for 3.5 years. And then after that, when I got out of prison from doing those 3.5 years, my mind still wasn't made up. It was just like those 3.5 years was like a slap on my wrist. Like I didn't really take no time. It really didn't affect me or anything like that. So I got back into the drug game, and I actually did that for 5 more years. And then I caught a 10-year stint where I ended up doing 8.5 years inside and then getting back out. And through that time of incarceration, the second time that I was incarcerated, I pretty much got closer to God, felt in my mind and in my heart that I didn't want to sell drugs anymore. So I ended up just making up my mind. Just, you know how you, somebody say you have a made up mind, that you know that you're not gonna do these things anymore. So that's what stage I got to. And I was offered, I wouldn't say a detail, well, they call it detailing when you're in prison, but I was asked to be able to talk with the youth on the inside.
Okay.
So I ended up, got chosen out of thousands of inmates. The lady just said there was something special about me, that she think that I could help other people. So I ended up going to group homes, going outside of prison to group homes, detention centers, elementary schools, high schools, junior highs. And in some of those places, like the elementary schools, I had to break it down because they couldn't understand far as like what I was in for, what I was there for. So I had to break it down to an educational level where I talked to them about their goal setting, peer pressure, all those different things. So that's basically where I learned how to speak to the youth, and I said, you know, that was a big part of me. That's what I wanted to do. It was embedded in my heart. So I ended up doing that, and when I got out, I wanted to continue that, but the Lord didn't open those doors right away for me. But when I was incarcerated, I prayed for 2 different things, and that was a trucking company, because that was a desire of mine, and to be able to speak with the youth, to be able to help them and educate them to keep from making the same mistakes that I made.
Right.
So he gave me the trucking company first. And name of my trucking company is New Direction Trucking. And I made that a significant name because my life was heading into a new direction. So I got into trucking and I done well with that. And then as time went on, I still said, God, why you not open up those doors for me, for me being able to go out and speak to the youth in the community or whatever. So I felt that I was still missing that, but I just continued to press on and do what he gave me already, which was a trucking company. So I tried to master that and do that well. And you know, at the same time, along the way, I had a friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine, that come to me, and he was like, he wanted to do a story on my life. He wanted to tell my story so that it can help other people, and I turned him down. I turned him down at first. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then, you know, we end up doing one on our childhood barber. We end up doing a story on him, and it was a success. So he come back to me again, and he said, man, I got to do this story on you because you're going to be able to help people. I think you're a powerful person. I think you know what to do. I think you can lead them in the right direction because you already been through those things. So at that time, I said, okay, let's do it. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. We had an idea, but it ended up turning out to a great success. He did the documentary on me. We did it right here in downtown Raleigh. 420 people came out. A lot of people that I didn't even know just because of him. And his name is Terrence Graham, and he's here tonight with me also because he handles everything that I do. You know, he set up different speaking engagements. I also been to Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I got invited up there to talk to the Department of Juvenile Justice, talk to some juveniles. But like I said, you know, all this is a great part of my life and something that I wanted to do. And I got this. I wanted to show this because this is my DVD, my documentary, and it means a lot to me because when you have someone that comes into your life and says that they believe in you and to trust them with your story,
right, your
and then they bring
story.
it to life, oh, that's great. And then I've been knowing Steve for a very long time. He watched me when I was in my mess.
Amen.
He watched me. So he called me and he told me about the program that he was starting, and he wanted me to do some speaking. He wanted me to tell my story, and you know, because he just felt like we wanted to help some people.
Amen.
And telling your personal story can be therapeutic for you, but also helpful for the younger generation.
Yes.
Amen.
Most
Now, what's
definitely.
the name of your documentary? We'll give
it's
you a
called-
shout out here.
It's called The Earl of Duplin.
Okay.
My middle name is Earl, so we just came up with that name, the Earl of Duplin, and it just stuck out. So that's why everybody calls me now. EOD, Earl of Duplin. So I'm just glad to be able to help him out, and I'm gonna continue to help him out. And like he said, we hope that other churches will get involved so that we can talk to the youth. And we can't help everybody, but if we can touch one or just touch a few, you know, that's great.
Right. And Steve, just hearing those personal testimonies can be life-changing for our young people.
That's right, and it's by the grace of God. You know, we got people like him that come back out here and get his life corrected. Show you how it can work.
Absolutely. It can be done with support. And Michael,
support.
you know, we're so very proud of you. You have your own trucking business
Yes.
now and are doing great things. And we thank you for giving back and for sharing your personal story with us today and for sharing it with our youth.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more Tar Heel Talk after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. Studies show that at least 95% of incarcerated prisoners will be released back into their communities at some point, and today's show focuses on efforts to help make that transition easier. With us again is Steve Sanders, founder of Restoring a Generation. Also joining us is Michael Monk, who is a participant in the program. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Michael, you spent about 11 years in prison. Tell us a little bit about what landed you there and what life was like for you then.
Well, what landed me there was, I guess my drug dealer ways, I would say. My stories are kind of different from most. Back in May 6, 1990, I was with my father, and my father got killed. After my father was killed, we transitioned and moved to another town in Johnston County. Once I got there, I was kind of prepped and raised by somebody that was in the drug game. You know what I mean? They taught me, they showed me what to do, how to do it, and I believed in it. And through that transition, I went through the transition from 15 to probably 28 until I caught my federal charge. Once I got my federal charge, I went into federal prison. Once I got in federal prison, I realized that who they say I was is not who I was. So what I started doing is kind of just studying myself, and knew that I didn't want to put myself back in a position like this anymore. Right. And I actually learned something very cool in there because, you know, when I was selling drugs, you deal with a lot of scales and stuff like that, right? So I started baking. And that's when I realized that baking in this concept it's all a recipe. And then from there, I just basically just hung with people that were moving in the same direction that I was moving in. And like I say, you know, a man can't change his life till he changes what he believes in. That's the key. Right. For me, that was the key for me, is just changing the things that I believed in, you know. And once I did it, I put together a plan. I came home and I worked my plan. You know, I tell everybody your plan is not gonna be easy. Change is not easy. You know what I mean? And most of the people that clap for you when you went in would not be clapping for you when you come out if you change it. So you have to prepare for that. But I tell people, God hold the keys that man did not possess. Amen. That's the key. You know, first believe in him and believe in yourself. And change will come. I think Otis Redding said that. You know, change will come. You know, and since then I've been out here, I stuck to my plan. You know, I kind of stay out of the inner circles that I used to be in. I mean, I support my uncle in anything he called me to do. You know, and since then it's just been, you know, you got to stick with the process. Right. Change is a process. You know what I mean? Stick with your process. Keep people in your corner that clap for you, that cheer for you. Listen to the people that love you. You know what I mean? Not the people that like you. You know, that's a key too. And basically that's basically my story.
So you mentioned baking. You used what you did in the streets in terms of baking for drug purposes and turned it into a positive.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were in prison. Talk a little bit about that and how that helped to change your life.
Well, you know, that was kind of different there. I was actually in the kitchen out, and they were prepping me to become like a head cook or something like that. And one of the officers came to me, he was like, you know, Monk, I need you to bake. And I was like, man, I don't want to bake. I'm finna be the #1 cook. I got access to everything, you know. And so he convinced me to bake. And once I started baking, I realized that this is basically the same thing that I was doing when I was out there. And I was always been the type, so as Mr. Pearsall, we put our all into anything we done. You know, I don't like to glorify what I did in the drug business. I don't even like to glorify what I accomplished out here. I'd rather talk about my failures, you know. But I put my all into it, and before I left prison, you know, I was a head baker, head cooker everywhere I went. So I used that energy when I got out too. You know what I mean? I ain't cooking now and baking nothing now. I actually drive a truck now. But I use the same transition or the same mindset in there out here, and it works. You just gotta stick to your plan, not their plan, your plan. And if you stick to your plan, God will open doors that man ain't got the keys for. I always tell my uncle that, you know. God got keys that man do not possess.
And Steve, you mentioned earlier in the show that your nephew, Michael, was a big part of the reason that you started Restoring a Generation, just to kind of help make that transition from prison back into society and to be successful.
Yes, you know, because one reason where Mike went in, I was in the world. To God be the glory. You know, but that's nothing I'm ashamed about now. But it just shows you how God can bring us back together. He had brought me back together to be out here for him and Michael and anybody else out here to be positive. You know, he was my servant back there in the day, but look now, we serve both of us together for God. God is good.
Absolutely,
And I'd like to say
all the
something,
time.
if I can.
Sure.
You know, when I was in prison, I wrote my uncle a forgive me letter.
Yeah.
Because I knew that when I was out here, I was kind of his handicap. Because he didn't have to go nowhere to get what he wanted, because I had it. And if I got it, he got it. But I wrote him a letter and I apologized to him because I realized that how can I say I love this man like I do, but I'm feeding him something that's killing him? You see what I'm saying? See, that's where I talk about my understanding changed, what I believed in. Because one time I didn't see it, you know what I mean? But then as I started to get to know who I was and figure out that I'm not Mike Monk, I'm Michael Monk, you know what I mean? So I'm not what the street said I was. And once I grasped that, I apologized to him and I told him, I said, man, I apologize to you for what I done to you, man, because if I loved you, I wouldn't do you like that. You know what I mean? And since then, man, and it took a lot off of me for that. And I apologize to everybody.
Help us
that I wronged.
understand the dynamics and what exactly you did to your uncle that you had to apologize for.
So let's say basically when I was doing what I used to do, you know, I used to call my uncle to keep me company. You know what I mean? But I also knew what his habit was. And I was in possession of what he was addicted to. And I would just feed it to him. I mean, in bulks. And I would watch him. And you know, the world that I came from taught me that this was normal. You know what I mean? I never knew that till I told you one of my cousins came and he said, what's wrong with them people? I said, oh man, they're crackheads. They supposed to look like that. But he was like, nah, bro, people don't supposed to look like that. But from my world and my understanding, that was normal. But when I got in prison, as I said, I realized that my way of thinking, I was sick. That's not normal.
See, it's just like you getting a person like that power. You know, it's just like a lot of people walk around here in this world today, pills and everything else. And it's some family member is getting it to them. But you blind and you don't see it at that time. Just like I was blind one time. But when God opened my eyes, the scale came off.
Yeah.
I see now.
And being able to share your story and living through it
Oh yeah.
has to be powerful.
Oh, it is. I
because
don't hide
you're
it.
not just preaching to the
no,
masses.
no.
You have lived it.
I lived it.
And so that makes your personal testimony
Oh, yeah.
all the more powerful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I love this guy though. You know,
I can stand up here and grin today.
You know, when my dad passed away, my dad got killed. He was the first man to come and get me and my brother. You know what I mean? And I never forget that. He was the first man that I seen come through that door and say, come on with me. You know what I mean?
And you actually saw your father.
Yeah, I was
Get
with him.
killed.
Yeah, me and my brother. You know, we actually seen it. And, you know, that's when our lives took the turn. You know what I mean? And like I said, you know, you got to be careful who give your kids identity. Because that's what happened is somebody else gave us our identity. But the identity they gave us was a false identity. You see what I'm saying? You know, so you got to be careful, you know, who you let speak, be around, or who has your children's ear.
Absolutely.
Because they trying to feed them something to change them.
That's incredibly
You know what I mean?
important.
Yeah.
We have about a minute left in the program. Any final message you'd like to share with our young people today?
Only thing I'd like to share with the youth is just listen to your parents. Listen to people who've been out here through this, you know, like anybody been through it, you know, and talk to somebody if you're going through something, you know. It's a lot of people going through something, they ain't talking to nobody, but share it with somebody.
Absolutely.
And anybody can change, like Brother Mike say, that want to.
They got to want to.
You got to want.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. And Steve Sanders and Michael Monk, we thank you both so much for
Yes, ma'am.
sharing
Thank
your
you.
personal stories with us and for being our guest today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or send us an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.